Well, yeah, likewise. In That's pretty funny because the crypto world is so full of drama, never ends. And one thing I think is pretty funny about all that is like, as far as news that comes out, there's like bits of news. There's like bits of news that are big, and most of it is just like eh. But then there's just so much drama surrounding the news, or like, you know, I'm sure we'll talk about this a little bit more in a second. But the whole not it's not on the official list, but the whole Walmart thing with Litecoin. Did you see that? Yeah, and that's just I thought that's like a 5 years ago crypto world, but it's today. Like, yeah, it sounds pretty pretty nasty. Um, yeah, well, it also goes to the whole. It goes back to just the whole way crypto is still so speculative. Which this goes back to something I'm starting to realize, because anytime something doesn't make sense, and by the way, like one person watching, I'll wait until there's like two or three, and then we'll jump. But yes, you could share. It's funny. The person who one of the people who usually faithfully watches the podcast, he goes by one time, so it's one person and it's one time. Hey, one time was on this one time. Um, yeah. Oh, a buddy of mine just reshared. But yeah. So what was I saying about the the way everything is so new still? But it's a lot of times I grapple with this notion of the free market, because or I used to, rather, because free market is undefeated, and sometimes I didn't like what it said. But and this is a little free market rant, is like for the pre-show stuff for people. But the free market is always right. It tells people like, well, this is a shitcoin, it shouldn't be valued. Well, there it is. Would you think the free market is wrong, you commie? Like, it's always right, and it's always like, well, we didn't understand it well enough. And so the thing, what I always tell people about crypto, I've started to come around to understanding why things are valued the way they are. And the big thing that people don't have outside of crypto is a good way of like making money, of taking money and putting it somewhere where they get more of it. And that's what they really want. It's kind of like, I mean, they have like playing the lottery, which sucks, but then the investing area of life is just too complicated and too regulated and stuff in the legacy system. So that's the number one thing that crypto has real world utility on. And so that's why people love stuff like Doge, because like the idea of being able to do some like long-term investment strategy and talk, like, well, that's just inaccessible. But almost anyone can go into Robinhood, buy a giant bag of Doge, and just pray that Elon tweets, and then he does, and then they make money, and then their lives are better. And so that's why we are where we are, is because the free market is correct. People want something, and these projects are giving it to them. So that's kind of the preface. When anytime there's like some nonsense that happens, it's like, once once people can already get money from their money a lot easier, then no one will care that much about these stupid projects. As in, once the once like the Elon effect of tweeting and stuff goes away, once people look into this stuff a little bit more, maybe when there's regulation a little bit more, but also once there's just all kinds of easy DeFi like solutions to like get like compounding interest and staking things. Once that happens and that's all like settled, then there's no more like free money to be had in that use case. Then people say like, okay, what else do we need? And so then it'll kind of go in there. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, and that's the thing is right now. Someone said on the live thing, we can't hear. You can't hear? Question mark? Oh. Oh, it must be it must be on poor L's side. But for me there is. That's why we aren't started yet. Okay, well let me just see, where is the audio? Output capture. Well,
On Odysee.
you can. All right. Well, you're say something really loud now. Louder than that.
Decentralize all the things.
Ha.
An old meme for you.
Yeah. Well, so your audio is starting to bounce. Now, can you hear both? Let's go with that. And say something again.
God damn it. On-chain scaling and layer 1 security for the win.
Okay. Everyone says it's fine now. Well, thanks for letting me know. And this was just a ramble about nonsense in the beginning. I'll probably cut that out of the recorded version. This is just for the live people. Well, because they won't hear you. It'll just be just like, and it's just gonna look like you're eating something weird. So anyway, that's a long enough thing. Thanks everyone for watching so far. We'll see you next week. Just kidding. Let's get the show started. Let's hit the intro. So hey everyone, welcome to another episode of the Digital Cash Rundown. Or this channel is proudly sponsored by Crypto Canal, even though they didn't pay me, but they're nice to me. So go check out Crypto Canal, all your best videos and interviews and stuff, especially the Humans of Crypto podcast. A lot of in-depth stuff into the human part of crypto. It's a peer-to-peer podcast, and we have very few of those out there. So go check out Humans of Crypto. And yeah, welcome guys. So joining me today, of course, is the one and only Eléonore Blanc of Humans of Crypto podcast. Thanks for the big sponsorship money you gave me just now for the thing.
Making it rain on you.
Full disclosure, not actually sponsored by, I just want you to check out our channel. So yeah, you might have missed all the chatties in the beginning, but you still got a good show ahead of us. Especially who has been watching the whole El Salvador thingy going on? I mean, there's only two of us, so let me just ask you, because I know my answer.
Well, I know you've been watching it. I've seen your tweets. I've seen you following it pretty closely. And also, I think you're one of the loudest, can we call that, I don't know, what are you? Like a loudest crypto
hater,
advocate
jerk.
on Twitter, just, calling out the whole, oh, yay, El Salvador adopted Bitcoin as a legal tender, as a marketing scam, basically. So you've been pretty critical of the whole thing already for a while. So obviously I was expecting you to report on the flaming ATMs this week. It
yeah.
makes sense.
And of course, as a lot of people would say oh, you're the guy that used to do a lot of Bitcoin stuff, but you haven't been super big into BTC for 5 years. Of course you'd be a hater. So I will give a shout out to Max Hillebrand, who is, I believe he runs, or he's a part of the Wasabi Wallet team, and he's a big Lightning guy, a big BTC guy. I would say he's a maximalist, right? But he's a smart, reasonable maximalist, and he has been more critical than me on this stuff. He's been more loud, and he's been echoing a lot of the same sentiments because of the principle stuff. He said that El Salvador made Bitcoin into fiat. it's fiat money in El Salvador, and people are like losing their shit over that, which is funny 'cause it literally is. But as just before I go into like the possible like negative bits of the news, I don't like how it's implemented because it was by force. It like made every merchant have to do it. I don't like that it's only one currency, only BTC, which doesn't really help that much if people don't have free choice. And I don't like the custodial government provided wallet that's being rolled out to everyone that they're using to airdrop people Bitcoin. I don't like any of that stuff. I do, however, like that a non-government controlled currency, even though it's government issued and like whatever, government doesn't control, no government controls Bitcoin as far as I'm aware. So I'm glad that that is taking root somewhere, and I'm glad that that has a domino effect in a lot of other countries out there. That like Panama, for example, is floating a much more like liberal, as it were, law on crypto, allowing people to spend whatever they want, basically providing a framework for recognizing DAOs in the country and all kinds of stuff. So I like I think the law is gross. The situation is like a mixed bag. It's like it's a lot of good and a lot of bad stuff. Yeah, I would say even who knows. I think it might be net good for the world. For El Salvador, maybe not. Sorry, guys, but for the world, it might end up being a net good as a result of this, in my view, crappy law. But that's just my take before people call me just a hater. It's a little more nuanced than that.
Well, it's not okay. So there's so many things to unpack, but okay, one side we can sort of criticize the implementation of it. Okay, Bitcoin became fiat. I think that's kind of that's funny. But on another side, these people, I mean, people living in El Salvador are also suffering, and their government, which they don't have a strong hold of, are passing laws and are passing policies which don't echo their concerns. That's also something we have to keep in mind here, is that, of course, the crypto community is just jumping on this news and just running with it. And we're like, yay! Like there's a government that's bringing credibility to Bitcoin or cryptocurrencies, or at least that's one narrative that we've been hearing. And on another side, it's like, wait, but who's doing this? Oh, wait, let's learn about El Salvador. Maybe Salvadorians actually are not. This is maybe not the most urgent and practical thing that they need. They don't need 200 ATMs right now supporting Bitcoin in this country. This is not also what they want. So the criticism that we're seeing, setting fires to things, it's just a very sort of visual way for people to express their discontent. It's not,
for
they're
sure.
not just upset that it's being a custodian. We're, as crypto whatever people, we're like, oh, it has the wrong implementation, it's a custodian and it's not multi-asset. People are just like, what the hell? We want better policies. We want a government that's not a dictatorship. There's other things that we care about right now, and then it just gives a whole bad PR feel to crypto in general. I think it doesn't help anyone or anything.
Yeah.
And so it's the how and it's the why, and it's terrible.
sure.
But guess what? My parents should message me and we're like, oh my God, did you see that news about El Salvador? And I'm like, gosh, that's what hits mainstream media. That's what people are reading about. So it's
Yeah. So the hype is good. The hype is positive. The reality is a little more mixed. And I would recommend anyone, again, this is a shout out podcast today, I guess, but like check out Mark Falzon, Falzon, and Mark with a C. There's different Marks out there. So Mark Falzon has been down there in El Salvador doing a whole lot of stuff, stirring up a whole lot of shit. But also he had some interviews on his channel that he did where he just talked to random people on the street about, asked them their opinion. Or I don't know if he did it, but I'm pretty sure he did. He uploaded on his channel. And it's quite the mixed bag. There's like a lot of people are like, there's like a couple people are like, oh yeah, it's awesome. Most people are like, I don't know what the hell this is about, but I guess it's good. I guess we're moving towards the future, whatever. And then some other people were like, I think it was like 50-50 or maybe 60 negative, 40 positive, and like the average, like the people he interviewed. And they were like, well, like this is just another thing that they're putting on us. Like they couldn't get the currency to work, so then they got the dollar in, and that was a big disaster. And this is like another dollar. They're just doing it again. And then some dude had an interesting perspective, which it's funny. I don't personally really agree with necessarily, but he said like, oh, this Bitcoin's so great, like that we need to put our currency. Like, why hasn't another country done it? Like, why has no one else done it if it's so great? And that's, I mean, someone has to be first, right? You
Well,
can't.
wait. Well, probably because other countries also don't want their credit score to be just
Mm-hmm.
downrated to zero by the IMF and the World Bank. So it's interesting that a country that actually needs or is trying at least to get funds from the IMF is actually just rolling with it. And it's like, kind of like, you know what? We're kind of sick and tired, anyways. We're in a bad situation already.
Mm-hmm.
So let's just run with this. Do you think it's just like, it's, it's, do you feel like it's just like a marketing stunt by the government as well to like what you just said, the sort of, oh, we're moving forward, we're going towards, you know, like a more fintech technology and stuff like that? Is that's also a
Yeah.
way for governments to look like, oh, we're doing something cool, you know, we're not, forget the
Well,
human rights violation, like just focus on us just bringing Bitcoin to you? Like, doesn't that sound
yeah,
cooler?
I think that's kind of it. It's not specifically coolness. It just you know how like obviously ever look into like tax havens and stuff and just think about why that country? Like just some random country, some random island, whatever. They want more business. I
Mm.
believe, like for example, one thing that's kind of funny. I believe that the vast, like the majority, or like half or something of all ships fly under the Liberian flag, because Liberia is this little is impoverished African nation. No, sorry, but because of like their maritime registry, makes it so favorable that almost everyone like will register as a Liberian flag, even if they're owned by other countries or whatever. It's one of those things. And I think it's just like, okay, we got a small country, it's a great country, beautiful country, a lot of good stuff going on, poverty as well, challenges, some corruption, it's a mixed bag, right? And then they're like, well, let's try to improve our country somehow. Like, what can we do? And the long, hard road to like actual reforms and making things better is it's a lot of work and not
Yeah,
guaranteed. So
so
they're
so
like,
let's not
well,
do that.
well, I mean that's
Well,
more of like an indictment of Bukele, I guess. But because Mister sends troops into Congress to like pressure them onto some vote, and like that's a lot of dirty stuff. But like it's just trying to say, hey, we want investment. Any country in the world wants foreign investment of some kind, probably. And so they're just saying, we want tech investment and stuff. But then they're like, you know what? We're gonna make a huge bit of noise, where a lot of people who couldn't point to El Salvador on the map now can, because they really want to like get to the top of the noise spectrum to
well,
get people in. That's probably what it is. It's just like, come invest
that's
in our country. We're
yeah,
going to make it
and that.
attractive to tech bros, but we're going to make it really loud so everyone knows. And so
Mm-hmm.
that's probably what they did.
Another thing that's really attractive for foreign investment is stability.
Mm-hmm.
Stability of whatever's going on. You know, we don't, people that are investing large amounts, they just want to make sure that the political aspects are in
Yeah.
check, that the governance is in check, that law and order is being applied, and okay, accepting. I mean, bringing sure, it made a lot of noise. I
Mm-hmm.
wonder what the return is going to be for El Salvador, and it's
Well,
not only just that government, but for its people.
that
Um,
that rolls right into this ATM thing. So they built a bunch of Chivo ATMs. Chivo is the app that is used by the government to like give everyone their crypto stuff. And they have like ATMs which supposedly you can use to get like cash out of and stuff. It's a little sketchy because the app isn't working so well, but basically a mob came in and defaced it and set it on fire and stuff. And they're just like, with like slogans of like signs saying like democracy is not for sale and stuff. Like they just think they've been sold out to the gringos or something. And
well, I mean, it
you
doesn't
know,
look good. I mean, from their
yeah,
perspective, it's like, what the hell's this thing? Imagine
yes,
it was
and
just like an ATM for like Skittles. Like it would feel the same thing. And now you only have one treat in the whole. You cannot have any other candy but Skittles. And then we have. I'm just.
mm-hmm,
This is the most random example I could find, but that's how it must feel. Like
yeah,
why? What's this thing have to do with anything with our lives right now? How is this improving our healthcare? How is this improving like anything? To
yeah,
I don't know. I think it's fascinating. And so you were saying the app doesn't even work. I mean, how
mm-hmm,
freaking it's like, okay, we have to, you're spending money. El Salvador is all over the news. great for the wrong reasons. Our situation is not better. So yeah, let's set fire to these weird machines that you've set from hell with this one company that no one knows
Yeah.
about. It's
And of course, a single protest, or I mean, there's been a few, but like a protest of like I don't know what is it, a couple hundred people or whatever it is not indicative of necessarily the whole population, but it is
no.
indicative of some people being pissed off. And the thing, yeah, the app. So the app has not been working very well. There's been a lot of like bugs and there have been a lot of restrictions of if you can receive or send or all this, to where some people think, oh no, it's like it's not real Bitcoin because you can't get real Bitcoin out of it. It's just all a fraud. And then they're like, no, but we got some out. But then it's like a lot of back and forth, and so I think the dust needs to settle. But as I predicted, again, Mr. Profit over here, which any idiot could have. It's not, it's not just me, but that this would be an absolute disaster of a practical rollout. Like, because it's not just yay, it's legal, you can use it, which that's fine. Then people get to implement it whenever they're ready. But it's just like everyone has to by this day do it. And by the way, everyone's getting $30, and then all of a sudden there's a scrambling deadline of like, oh shit, we got to get things in order. And then, I mean, how many times does Coinbase go down? You know, so yeah,
I just feel like okay, so I guess one part of the narrative would be like, wow, so El Salvador being so risky and trying new things and go them, and we shouldn't bash them too hard because they're trying and they're being pioneers or whatever. But crypto is supposed to be, and I'm sorry to be like the sort of the mom here, but like
the
crypto
Debbie
is
Downer.
permissionless. The downer, like the crypto
Mm-hmm.
boomer. But crypto's
Mm-hmm.
permissionless. Like, I don't understand why we're celebrating a government making Bitcoin a legal tender. Anyone in El Salvador today could choose to freely, voluntarily could choose to send, accept cryptocurrencies for payments, for their salaries, for whatever.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't have to come from the government, especially not from this government, which apparently is just not listening to their population and what they actually want and need today. So yeah, again, it's weird
Yeah.
news. It's yeah. I probably think their credit score is going to go down, so they
Mm-hmm.
will not, or they'll have difficulties getting that 1 billion loan from the IMF. The IMF is like, well, that whole Bitcoin news thing, that's not really on our agenda. That kind of pisses
Yeah.
us off. That's not really good. In your review sheet of if we give you money or not, that's kind of like a no because you're doing stuff that we
Mm-hmm.
don't like, and you're supposed to push for like CBDCs and stuff, and not just accept. Don't, whatever. Don't feed the cryptomania that way. So that's kind of on a macro level. I feel like El Salvador might have shot itself in the foot. For crypto itself, it doesn't change anything. It just reminds us as a space to sort of always discuss having self-custody, being able to use a cryptocurrency wallet where you have your own keys, to make sure that we're not just replicating the current banking system and copy pasting it and slapping onto a country. Like, if that doesn't do more harm than good, no, excuse me, that does do more harm than good. So
Yeah, that's for sure. It's be interesting to see how it goes, because it's definitely a gamble, because there's a lot of risk, and we're not talking about the right or wrong of the situation. We already established that, but we're talking about the gamble, because on the one hand, you want, like, again, the IMF getting annoyed at them, just all the bad press from stuff not working, and then discontent with the people and all that other stuff. Like, it's clearly, and especially if they did this huge bold move and it just does not work out at all in the end, that's like a huge step back. The president probably is going to get out of there. You know what I'm saying? It's a disaster. Now, on the other hand, I guess what they're hoping for, like, especially when we kept on buying all this Bitcoin and stuff. It's like, well, if the government buys a lot of Bitcoin and then the price doubles by the end of the year, and they haven't sold, then they look really good. And also, if enough footage goes out there, people buying their McDonald's with Lightning or whatever the hell they're doing, and then a bunch of tech bros like, oh, that's cool, and then they're tired of like the schemes in the West, especially the U.S., the regulatory schemes, and they just say, we're going to move down there where there's no capital gains, and they all jump down there. It could provide a net boom to their economy. So, but it's like it's a gamble at this point, right? I mean, and I already expressed that I don't think that that's the right thing to do anyway, but like it's a gamble to see, if it works.
Sure. I mean, I think gambling is fine, but when you do this at a macro governmental level,
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry, this is the Swiss talking in me, but stability, security,
Yeah, Swiss stability.
education brings more wealth in the long term than quick, fast, and loose marketing schemes. I mean, we saw, I think last year, the whole talk about Petro and Venezuela, and everybody's like, oh my God, Venezuela is experiencing crypto and they're launching. I feel like this is just another like repeat of that, like in a more weirder way. You know what? Good point.
Mm-hmm.
El Salvador didn't launch their own coin. I guess we're learning. Like we're going, maybe like
Yeah,
next
going in a good
year.
direction.
Yeah, maybe you know what? That's my positive spin on the whole thing. It's better than the petrodollar. There we go. It's
Yeah.
not great, but it's not worse. It's not
So
as
we
bad.
got this question here
Yeah.
from the super chat. Is Eléonore Blanc living unbanked? If yes, how long? If no, why not?
Oh my
Well,
God.
aggressive right out the gate right there. You know,
I am now
persecute the
blushing and
witch.
being very uncomfortable. I am not unbanked. I am still banked, trying to not be as banked as possible, being as much in crypto as possible, making
Hmm.
as much crypto payments as possible in my business and in my personal life. But no, I am still very much banked.
Yes, and
I hope that answers
that
the
answers
question.
the say it's the same for just about everyone. And it's funny because even my unbanked crypto status has fluctuated, like the particulars under which has fluctuated for a
Mm,
while. So like I was living all on Bitcoin banked for about 6 months. And I try to use Bitcoin wherever I could, but a lot of times, most of the time, I just sold it because that was my 100% income was Bitcoin at that point, but I was
yeah,
banked, and then I got it, converted and sent to my bank account so I could pay rent and do stuff like that. That I bought some stuff directly with Bitcoin. After I got rid of my bank account, oh, I mean, after that whole nonsense, there were times when I was like I sometimes sold crypto to pay for rent. For example, sold it for fiat to pay for rent,
yeah,
even though it's still 100% going in, and that's what I had, and I go spend it wherever I could. And then I had like a crypto debit card thingy that was just converting to fiat balances, and then I'd spend like it wasn't like I'd have to do it, make sure I had enough balance on the card. So like I would
yeah,
like switch it over and then swipe it. There's like a lot of that stuff, and then over time, there's times I've like actually paid for rent and utilities directly in crypto, and then like for example, I remember there was a time when most of my spending was through something through like Bitrefill, by the way,
yeah,
which it's like you buy. It's not like you turn it into fiat. You turn it into store credit, and then the store credit gets spent there. So it's kind of you're still buying like a product from them, and you're not touching fiat, but it is an intermediary. And then when
yeah.
Dash Direct came out, which lets you do that amazingly in the U.S. and hopefully the world pretty soon, I've used Dash Direct literally twice because I so many places around here I spend it directly, like without going through an app, and so like I haven't needed to. So there's been like an evolution of that, and so
Yeah.
I think that debanking is a long term process, and there's different like levels and hierarchies, and like everyone should aspire to it. But there's also like risk management levels where
Like
if you have
I've
most of your fiat in crypto instead, and then you do like a 20% dip, and then you're like, oh, I guess I got to eat it because I got to pay bills now.
Well, it's interesting. I think this sort of living unbanked, I think that's like the for me as well. I think it's the
Mm-hmm.
ultimate goal because it will like perfectly align my values and living. I feel like, and
Mm-hmm.
that's what I always want is to align more and more my life with my principles and my values and I
Mm-hmm.
feel like when you eat, live, breathe crypto, whatever, like everything sort of merges into one. And especially because I'm part of, I would say, the educational branch of this space, I want to live as closely as possible as what I'm preaching basically. and
Mm-hmm.
and so I want to do my best in that level. And I feel we've talked about this together. So for those that don't know, Joel came on the Humans of Crypto podcast. We're working on the podcast itself, but you were discussing um belts, like when you like every year, or like when you reach a certain level,
Mm-hmm.
whether it be in taekwondo or in jiu-jitsu, have these colored belts, and I feel
Mm-hmm.
like I'm still like a white yellow, because that's the reference that I know from judo. Like
Yes.
I feel like I'm a white to yellowish
Mm-hmm.
belt level of the unbanked spectrum, and I would love at some point, to get yeah, to just sort of grow and go further and pursue this. And this whole venture, which is in the making. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I discovered crypto in 2017, and this was all like, oh my god, what is all this? Then I had to jump into it, figure it out, learn, and I still feel like I have so much to learn. But the unbanked side is really something I would wish to accomplish, um, yeah, as soon as possible. I would add a parenthesis where I've also discovered that I'm kind of an trader. Like, I'm not a good I don't care enough about
Mm-hmm.
the price and stuff like that. I'm terrible at following and reading multiple white papers and investing. So the investment side of things, I've sort of given up. I did it a lot myself in the beginning, and it's not something I'm good at. And so at a certain point, I sort of was like, okay, fine, cyber capital maybe might be where I should park some of these things. Then
Yeah.
another part of it is still me, and then I sort of balance between investment and what I'm using and what I need. So I feel like I'm still in a confusing state of having to move funds from one pile to the other. But thank you for reminding me that we should all
Yeah.
live up to Joel's standard, and is something we should talk more about, and that is something that this space lacks, is people to look up to.
So, yes, that's the thing. Is like everything. I kind of liken it to people who start a side hustle, as it were, because, uh, for example, I mean, especially in these turbulent times, it really helps to have a little side thing. But like, you don't just say, you know what, I'm done. I'm gonna just do this full time. I mean, that's what I did, but it's the stupid idea, because I just quit all my jobs and decided like I didn't have a crypto thing lined up, and I was just like, all right, I'm gonna do this, but then that was like, oh yeah, I made like, you know, $700 that month, and 600 is rent, and 100 was everything else, and like there's a few of those struggle months and stuff, and no one else or few other people are in a position to do that. So,
Yeah, and still, I must admit, most of my clients now are still fiat. I
mm-hmm,
do push and I do give discounts for clients that pay in crypto,
mm-hmm,
because that's my way of encouraging
yeah,
them to pay using cryptocurrencies. But even my crypto deep dive clients, even though they spend
mm-hmm,
3 hours with me learning about cryptocurrencies and DeFi, some have paid in crypto, but it's not the
mm-hmm,
majority.
yeah,
The majority just default back to, give me your IBAN. And I'm like, yes, but this is also, if you
mm-hmm,
want, I can also, I like to use BitPay for my professional invoices,
mm-hmm,
using crypto as well. But then I can you write with BitPay, you decide if you settle in fiat or in crypto, but then it's a nice accounting tool and everything, and people enjoy the QR invoicing system. It's just, we're getting there, I guess. It's definitely not mainstream, and it's not everybody wants to pay you in crypto. So
yeah. But it's fun if you get someone to try, even if they don't default to it,
yeah,
just to see what it's
yeah,
like.
yeah.
And Lucky Boy in the chat, well, lucky boy, it's your lucky day, says, hey Joel, I beginner. I want to learn crypto. Please recommend me YouTube channel. Well, you're watching a good one for some of it, but you'd have to pick the right thing. So you're on YouTube, Lucky Boy. And if go to the playlists and there's how to live on crypto. And I'm going to be adding more videos to that series very soon because, there's more new stuff that came out, but also uh, there's some. I'm gonna get political in just a second here, but basically to answer your thing, there's that, and I also have learned, by the way, because a friend of mine, was just like, oh, I hear, so you're in the crypto stuff, like, I don't know anything about it, like, what can you recommend that I read or anything? I was just like, all my stuff is a little more specific. It's like, well, here's how to use this. Here's how, but like, what is it? Why do I care? And so at one point, I'm gonna do just like a big long like for absolute like for the grandmother or whatever. Be like, what is it? And just be like, what is it? Why do I care? and then that'll be able to do that. And at that point, lucky boy, it will be your very lucky day. But in the meantime, look.
Can I plug?
Yes, yes, yes. By the way, proudly sponsored by Crypto Canal. Go to Crypto Canal and check this out. Yes, so shill Crypto Canal really quick.
Yeah, because just because the question is so appropriate. Thank you so much for asking that, Lucky Boy. But basically, one part of my business as well is education, and I do paid classes. So crypto deep dives are 3 hours, private lessons for people that really are maybe already in crypto, already have some crypto, and really want to go further. But every last Wednesday of the month at 6 p.m. Central European time, I do a 1 hour Crypto 101 class to get the basics in 1 hour. So it's open to all. It's free to attend. You can find me on Meetup. It's the Crypto Canal Meetup, and you'll find the Crypto 101 sessions, which are really fun. They're open to all. People can ask questions as well. You can feel free to remain anonymous, but in that class, I cover what is money, blockchain fundamentals, consensus algorithms such as proof of work and proof of stake, and I end on a cryptocurrency wallet workshop. So everybody that attends the class, if they send me a cryptocurrency address, Bitcoin Cash address, then I give them at least €1 worth of Bitcoin Cash, and everybody learns how to save their private keys, and and then you can go into your rabbit hole with just a fast forward version of getting the fundamentals. So that's Crypto 101.
I'm going to show up with glasses and a mustache and then give you an eCash address by accident, and then
Does it start with a 3? Is it or a Q? Is it because I
Probably.
flag those? I always tell people like, what's the address format?
Yeah. But anyway, I'm just saying a trolley thing. But yeah, so that's
Sneaky.
that. Yeah. And the political bit, which I don't want to belabor too much on a essentially non-political type show, but I mean there's always reasons. The world's been getting pretty crazy pretty fast, and like for example, in the last 2 years, there's been a public health issue that has affected a lot of people, and then there has been a much greater and more destructive, especially long term, in my opinion, government overreach issue that seems to just be getting worse. And it's essentially all facets of human life are being started to be ratcheted down on, more so in other places than others. And a lot of people are like, wow, this country, like the world's burning to the ground. There's like, everyone's fighting, everything, riots and like all this stuff. And everyone's like scared and stuff for the future. And I'm absolutely not. And I realize the reason for that is for the last 5-6 years, I have not like worked for someone who can like fire me or whatever. I have not had a bank account for most of that time. I do peer-to-peer trading with like oh, what if the grocery stores all shut down? Well, I still know where I'm getting my food because it's not a grocery store. And like I kind of live in this safe bubble of like crazy person that was ahead of his time. But like that just kind of woke me up like, oh wow, there's a lot of people that are legitimately scared right now. And one of the more two recent things in the U.S. was the administration decided to mandate that, or again, the legality of this is probably going to be challenged and all kinds of other stuff. But they basically said that any company with more than 100 employees has to make sure all their employees are vaccinated, even if they're remote employees, and otherwise they face huge fines. And a lot of people are quitting their jobs over this. A lot of companies that don't want to do this, that have like 108 employees, are firing 8 employees so they stay under the 8. Like there's a lot of stuff, and a lot of people I know have been saying like, hey, can I get into crypto? Because like I see I'm gonna have to leave my old, like there's a lot of stuff going on. And so it just made me realize that this like, I should show people how I live on crypto stuff, that like just because I do that and it's my expertise, it's more serious than that. Like I could help people, hopefully, because I should take this seriously, because people could live in.
Weren't?
Nah, not enough. But that's what I'm saying is like, it was just my thing. I was just playing around with the tech, like to see how to understand it. But I'm like,
yeah, but that's great. Like now spread your wings. Now we can learn from your experimentation.
Yeah. And so basically I'm going to add another couple how to live on crypto videos.
Good.
But then I'm going to add how to earn crypto.
Yeah.
And that's a big one. And then, of course, interspersed with that, I'm going to go for not crypto, but how to decentralize your tech life. And, it's funny. Jeremy Kaufman?
I know Jeremy Kaufman?
He's the CEO of Library.
I saw him on your show, so yes.
Yeah.
And I'm
Well,
familiar
you
with
should have
Library.
him on Humans of Crypto. He's a very interesting story for sure. And he's
Okay.
a great,
Okay.
great speaker too. But
Okay.
he reported that he went to, I think he went to like Hungary for something. Like he flew from like New Hampshire to Hungary to like do some talk or something. But the
Mm-hmm.
point is, he went to Massachusetts, the state south of New Hampshire, and which is and without his knowing or consent, the government installed a tracking app on his phone that he found out later. It was like a COVID tracking thing, and you probably have one on your phone now too, because I don't know, I can't imagine that Europe's any better, right? So, and that was
Wait,
very
what?
freaky. So,
Wait, but it
based
installed it without him asking? Like he just
yes,
it turned out like he opened his phone and there was an app that wasn't there before that he hadn't installed?
yes, and it was
That's
by the
terrifying.
Massachusetts Department of Health. Like they, so yeah,
That's
there's
terrifying.
and living
Ugh.
unbanked off of crypto doesn't solve that. But you know what does is not running Android OS, like running one of these like Linux for phone things, which is the next.
Yeah, but
And but that's what I'm saying is like bit by bit, block by block, you know,
I
because
also
it's
like I
war,
love
you know. Not
I
really,
know.
but it's
No,
close.
you're right. You're right to make it
Hmm.
serious. And part of me is just like, have we really reached that point where I have to give up all the convenience of everything that's around me? It's
Well, that
such a, and I get it. Like we've been talking about crypto, it's not the whatever. And I tell it to everyone. The price for freedom and liberty is eternal vigilance. And what does that mean?
hmm
What does that mean to have a vigilant life or like a
but that's the thing
yeah,
is
it's I don't know.
like I've done things bit by bit to where now I don't realize them anymore. So, I mean,
Mm,
obviously, everything I have is like bought with crypto, unbanked, all that stuff,
yeah,
right? Um,
yeah.
this phone specifically is in like a prepaid setup that's not attached to my real name because most phone plans in the US are. This is not as weird in Europe.
Hmm.
It's not as weird in Europe, but in the US it's very weird. Everyone has like a phone plan that's attached to their identity that they
No,
pay
you
every
need
month.
in the Netherlands. You need if you want like a
Uh-huh.
plan like with data and
Yeah.
stuff like that. You need to give your name,
Yeah.
and more than that, you need to give your social security number.
Yes. This one none of that touched the phone. So, but like now that I got that,
How?
now I'll show people how if they want to, but it might be
Yeah, do the
US
series
applicable
because
only. Yes,
no,
but
really do it.
so now I just have a phone. Oh yeah, and I just pay my phone bill on Bit Refill every month, and but it's not like it's inconvenient now that I did that step. And then like for a while I moved out of Windows and started using Linux. And there was a couple things I had to like learn, but now using Ubuntu, which people say Mint is the easier one somehow, but I forgot I didn't miss that, but I like Ubuntu. Now it's just like it's super easy to use and I don't have problems, so I'm not sacrificing anything. It was just my computer is just the way it works. And then oh, you got to like people use Chrome or Firefox or something, and I've been using Brave, which used to be sketchier, but now the Brave browser is really good. It works better than anything else, and you like block all trackers and ads and stuff like on it to make it super privacy centric. And I've noticed, and I don't use Google for searches. I use Presearch or sometimes DuckDuckGo, but whatever. And then at the end of the day, like I notice, you ever had those situations where you're thinking about something or you're speaking about something or just and then all of a sudden you have this weird scary advertisement for just that thing pop up? Has that ever happened to you?
Yes, it has.
So that stopped happening to me after I did a few of these things.
Yeah.
And then I have a VPN that I just like it's just on. It's on in the background, right? And so like all these little things have like clawed bits back, but now my life is as easy and convenient as you were to use the word you were using. It's as convenient as it used to be, but it's just different. And so it's just like, oh, I can never get up in the morning, like I can't understand these people that get up before noon or whatever. And then if you just start doing it, eventually just your life, like it's not a sacrifice, not like, oh, I gotta like get up. Oh, it's just the time you get up. So that's kind of what I
Yeah.
would say. And Herman's has said in the live chat, the bad thing about Brave, you need KYC to access the bat inside.
Yeah.
That is
That
true,
killed it for
which is
me.
why I've never accessed the bat inside, but I
Yeah.
still use the browser.
Yeah. And Bat It's really sad that they did that. I also that's one reason why
Yeah.
that
Well, this is
is
a
valid.
giant rant. Let's move on to the other item on this list here, the stablecoin crackdown, which I'm a little bit giddy about this one almost, but this is the U.S. Treasury plots a stablecoin
Yeah.
crackdown even as Tether dominance wanes. The Treasury Department is reportedly preparing a review highlighting challenges posed by stablecoin redemptions and the effect of a possible run on the crypto asset market. They call it, they want to mitigate most urgent risks associated with Tether, and then all this kind of stuff. So,
Hmm.
what's your hot take before I, you know, go be a mean person for a little bit?
My hot take is that on the 1st of August 2021, we hosted BCH Day, and Mike Komorensky, that is behind Grapefruit Trading, who's based in the
Mm-hmm.
US, is an OTC trader. And he was like, the one thing we're going to see this year is Tether coming down. And I was like, well, that's. That was a weird thing to say back then. I was like, okay, sure. We always knew that Tether was like, is not clean and is like a weird it,
Mm-hmm.
it was just a matter of time before something like this would happen, right? Like I think we all
Yeah,
expected it, and it's not new, and it's like, yep. And when the shit actually hits the fan, it's going to be really really bad for the whole ecosystem, because I think we haven't really understood the difference between actual stable coins,
Mm-hmm.
decentralized stable coins, and fake stable coins. So like Tether is a fake stable coin, but like Dai is a real stable coin built on Ethereum
Yes,
and with a real proper decentralized mechanism behind it to whatever. So I think it's going to be really interesting. I think
for sure.
this is yeah, this is going to this a lot of people are going to be covering this, I'm guessing.
Of course. My hot take is all stable coins are fake. No, which
Joel,
here's the thing. I say
no.
I'm going to be a little bit mean because I hate stable coins and always have, and
But
I will explain. Like I will explain why, right?
okay.
So here's the thing. Well, first off, the bare naked truth is that stablecoins only exist to get around laws, right? Because the only time any and of course there's a million other uses that have come in, but basically the only reason why stablecoins exist is because traders didn't want to go through all the KYC of going in and out of fiat to crypto, so they made up bullshit fiat, and then that's what they're doing. That's literally the only reason they exist to begin with. Now, there's other reasons that crept up over the long term. But so, as I predicted, the value of most conventional stablecoins, now that DeFi is a thing, it's a little bit different, but in a pre DeFi world, the value of
Okay.
stablecoins would go to absolute zero as soon as the government decided to regulate them as if they were fiat.
Yeah.
Like if that just zero, instantly zero. I mean, just done. And so that's that hot take thing on stable coins. What I started to get annoyed at is when people started to introduce them as far as like commerce. Like, well, no one's ever going to take crypto unless you have like a stable coin implementation, or we need a stable coin. And then like the thing is, stable coins are pegged to fiat. So they're
Not
literally.
always. They can be pegged to crypto and other
Yes. Well,
baskets of
that's what I'm
crypto.
saying. We're getting into the we're I'm shitting on the old school stable coins that suck, and then we're getting into like where over long enough time the bullshit leaves the market, right? And then the real use case starts to come out. And so that's what you're kind of alluding to. But let me finish shitting on stable coins. So uh, basically, if it's pegged to fiat, that's the entire reason why anyone cares about crypto to begin with. It's the entire reason it's not fiat. It's not inflated away. It's not all these things. Why would you create blockchain technology that just it's like a fake approximation of something that's already fake? It's like fiat, you know? Especially in the
Yeah, it
case
is
of like
fiat fiat.
Tether, where it's not even fully backed by the fake money. So it's faking being backed by fake money. It's just horrendous. And for a while, like a couple of years ago, I was really scared because I saw how much of the market was based on Tether. And like if Tether went away, I'd be like, man, I'm gonna have to like start begging on the street for scraps or something because everything could tank. So that's on that. Now, as far as like, and I hate to be like sounding like a maxi when I say this kind of stuff, but like Bitcoin should be the stable coin, right? Or whatever the top actual store value coin that anyone uses. Or let's just say Bitcoin crashes and Bitcoin Cash becomes the one everyone uses and it's number one. Bitcoin Cash
Not
would be the stable
Ethereum,
coin.
considering the number of transaction happening on that network.
Sure, but one of those things should be like the stable coin. It's like
Okay, fine.
it's
The
like
reference.
yes.
That should be the reference. Yeah.
Yes. And so when you're talking about baskets of things that's a little bit more complicated. So first off, with DeFi, you can't have fiat. It's not just that regulations don't let you can't put fiat into DeFi because it's not on the same system. So you need a stable coin if you want to do that. It's still like a temporary trading measure, like as long as people care about fiat. But like if fiat's like let's make a Venezuelan bolivar stable coin. How about that? So that's just all I'm saying. Now, as far as like pegged to other baskets of goods and blah blah blah, like yeah, okay, that's a little bit more of an advanced traders kind of a thing. But it just drives me nuts seeing like people doing like we're not going to see merchant adoption until we have a stable coin. I'm just like
Yeah, no, I never bought that one either, but I think I also have something against not something
Yes.
against, but those that really crack me up are like the stable coins, okay, pegged for like gold or silver.
just have gold or silver.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like those are like those use cases. I'm like I roll my eyes, but they're still around. So people, I don't know, buy into these type of things. But yeah, the whole stablecoin world getting regulated, or SEC looking into it. Sure, it makes sense. It is something weird in the market that we have. It's a good tool that a lot of people and traders are using and are hedging risk against and just going back to USDT and stuff like that. And I don't think that's going to last. I think maybe it ran well as long as it could, and I don't know. I don't want to be too much of a doomsday tether person, but
Yeah, I
we
do.
always knew that was not a stable pillar of crypto for sure.
Yeah, and it's kind of funny to see just how many of the top 100 coins are fiat. Like it's kind of weird. It's a weird world we're living in. But
Well, can I talk about my favorite one then of the week, which had
Yes.
a 20-hour outage?
Yes, absolutely. That's not a stable coin though, is it?
Oh, what?
It's not a stable coin though, is it?
No, it's not. But it's a centralized one for sure, which with
Yeah.
a 40 or 50 billion valuation, which is insane, and which went out for 20 hours because they fucked up. And it's not
True.
because they were like running 400,000 transactions per second or something like that. Like these marketing numbers are going out the window, but it's not the case. They had a bug and they had to reboot, and that took the whole network out for 18 to 20 hours. So no blocks were produced, no withdrawals, no transactions, nothing. And some people have been equating this to the Ethereum Shanghai attack, which was a DDoS attack in 2016. It's not the same thing. Ethereum never went down in those days. It was a node implementation that was being attacked, and in 2016 it was Geth, and so parity. So it just meant that it was more difficult, and the attacker was spending a lot of money to, by the way, halt and mess up the network and stuff like that. But the fact that Ethereum has multiple client implementation, also called node implementations, just basically different softwares that are running the Ethereum blockchain in this case, makes it more resilient to any type of attack, any type of bug. We also saw it. There was another attack as well on Nethermind, on Ethereum actually, that happened, but nothing happened because all the other node implementations are like, well, we don't care what you're doing here. You're obviously like going off the road, and we're going to disregard these blocks because you're just not you're not doing what's right. So that's the importance of decentralization, and the importance of running multiple node implementation is crucial for a network to basically never go down. The whole point of this whole system is to live in the long term, or we discussed it already today about being unbanked, but it's not okay to have one of the top coins going around with marketing saying that they are as decentralized and better and faster, but they completely bomb the whole being scalable and secure.
At least for now,
they
that's for sure.
They say that they can scale, but they're not secure, and they're not decentralized. So that's
Well, I
like
mean,
just also they keep lying on their they not keep lying, but they have lied about their supply being twice as small, and it's not.
yeah, that's
So
that's
it's a
like
team that's like, you know,
it kind of
whatever.
reminds me a
Market's
little
always
bit
right,
about.
but kind of meh.
It reminds me of IOTA in the early days, right? Because IOTA is the 2017 Solana. It was like the super high throughput, gonna do everything, and
Internet
then
of Things. Or don't you want the Internet of Things world, Joel? Like, don't you want your phone and your computer and everything to just be all in the
yeah,
tangle and talk to each other?
yeah. I mean, whatever.
And then
So I,
do you remember the graphs where the tangle would like where the blockchain would split basically, and it
mm-hmm,
couldn't. So it was really hard because they had like this
yeah,
triangulation method, a consensus algorithm. It was really difficult for everybody to basically reach consensus, and so then it
mm-hmm.
would just
Branch out over and over.
auto fork itself. Yeah.
Yeah, it's so I have heard, I have not looked super close in, but I've interviewed some people from IOTA in the last year or so that they've fixed a lot of stuff. They've figured a lot of things out, and they're hopefully coming back. And it's not quite there yet, but they're hopefully going to decentralize finally because they had one coordinator node that ran everything in the past. And so, again, we'll see.
Governance? They still don't have any governance.
I think
Like Solana, no governance either.
they might be figuring something out. But the greater lesson I like to take from this, other than hype, dumb hype, wait for it to be real. That's one lesson. But the bigger lesson is the market is fragmenting, right? Crypto is not what it used to be. And I think that a lot of people have weird feelings about coins because they're like, oh, that's not a top 50 or top 20 coin. It's a shit coin. Or like, oh, look at all the shit in the top whatever. That isn't even decentralized. What we're seeing is the digital transformation of industry as a whole, right? We're starting to see that. Now, that doesn't mean that, like, and the problem is there's a conflation of assets. So, for example, something like Solana is more like, let's just say, what if you compared something like Solana and Filecoin to tech companies? But now they're like slightly less permissioned, and
they should go around saying that they're a platform, like a fintech platform, but not
mm-hmm.
like, because it's so early. We have to be able. It's still really difficult for people to see one's an apple, one's an orange. They
Mm-hmm.
they just think, oh, fruit. It's like, wait, one's really different from the other, and you might be allergic to that one, and that one doesn't do the same thing at all. And
Yeah.
we still need to sort of learn how to benchmark these things and not just put them all in the same basket, and try not to look for the easy marketing route, because the marketing always sounds great. And I see it all the time. It's so easy to write a copy for something, and it's beautiful, it's decentralized, it's scaling, it's secure, and da da da. And you really have to go and look at the details of the white paper, of the token economics, of the consensus algorithm, of the token supply, what is
Mm-hmm.
on the roadmap, what's going on, and to go and look at the blockchain. It's all
Yeah.
it's all there. You can actually go and see it. So when they say 400,000, it's actually more like 2,000 and stuff like that. It's really, but it does require just a bit more
Well, yeah, and
time.
that's one of those things too. Like when people are like advocating things, like that's why I'm more old school with the crypto stuff, because I came from like the Bitcoin like thesis of I want money first of all. I want like the
Yeah.
underpinning of society, because there's always apps out there, right? I want money, and I want it to be decentralized where no one controls it. And that's a very strong thing to be, because your whole life is built around this thing. So you need it to be decentralized, and not just you run some apps on it, right? And it has to have like sound money property. That to be scarce, super verifiable supply, all that kind of stuff. And it has to be super secure for using as transactions and things like that. And so like that excludes a whole lot of this like DApp infrastructure kind of stuff necessarily. But I mean, that's fine. I just like people say, well, why are you into this coin and not that coin? I'm like, well, I'm into ones that let me live my life more freely, right? And so like, for example, like Library, where, shout out to everyone who's watching this on Odysee. There's a few guys. That allows me to do this job that I do freely, right? Without worrying about, oh, YouTube's going to take me down. Don't take me down, YouTube. But even if you do, I'll be okay. Like, that's the kind of thing I'm looking for. And then to other people, like, well, all these decentralized applications with these high throughput chains, blah, blah. Like, great. Does it work? If it works, that's fine. Like, I'm okay, but just don't get it twisted. They're not the same thing. They're completely different products. It's like, why is Tether in the same category as, I mean, I don't want to say anything, try to sound like I'm saying anything nice about it, but like Litecoin. How is Litecoin like Tether? Right?
Oh,
They're
who's
not
saying
really.
that?
Well, they're on the
Is
market
anyone
cap
saying
rankings next to each other. Like, not right next to each other, obviously, but like they're not comparable. Like, Tether is a giant, like, bank, basically, that helps traders, like a trading bank.
That's a nice way of putting Tether.
Yeah, but it's like, it's a giant fraud too, but that's a different
Yeah,
thing.
okay.
But I'm just saying, like, it's not comparable at all. And it's in also, like, people like XRP and stuff, they're like, oh, but like,
Lol.
you know, well, Ripple's just a company that tried, again, here's my, this is not a very educated take, so if you know
No.
more about this, whatever. But Ripple's mostly just a company that tried to improve intrabank stuff. They didn't really figure it out, so instead they just bought all the remittance companies. You know, and then the XRP token is just their, like, illegal security that they use to, like, not that I care, but, you know, I don't think they should be, I don't believe in the concept of illegal securities, right? But whatever. They just offload this token to raise capital so they could buy all these, you know, actual successful remittance platforms. And, like, well, but why is that in the same category as Bitcoin Cash? Like, it's not the same at all. It's a finance company that uses some interesting ledger tech, but, like, they're still trying to figure out how to make it work. So they have these little shady, like, fundraising strategy, I guess, but a revenue model or whatever. But whatever. But it's not at all comparable to Bitcoin Cash. It's just not. Just absolutely not comparable. So why are they next to each other somewhere? You know?
Yeah, but you premised this show by saying the market is always right.
Oh yes,
so-
this goes to this last story here. So Shiba Inu jumps 40% on Elon Musk's cryptic endorsement Coinbase listing. And I don't even want to read this nonsense,
I
but
don't have any hot takes on that.
do you remember when a Coinbase listing used to be like a big deal? It's like,
Yes.
oh, we got a Coinbase, we're legit. And now just everything is on it, kind of.
Yeah.
And
But Coinbase is there's a sales department, and they realize that once they list a new coin, more customers flood in. Then they're like, let's list
Yeah.
more so we can get more into the door, and we'll figure out with delisting stuff later. But it's true that in the beginning they were. It meant something, I guess, to be listed there, and that's why they were. That's how we used to compare exchanges, right? There was like the legit ones that like didn't list everything under the sun, and then there was the others that were like, anyone can list, or not anyone, but like, pay us and we'll list you. And
yeah, the good old pay to play days.
yeah, well,
Yeah.
you know, good for Shiba Inu, sales department, marketing. They,
Yeah,
you know,
and
cool. Why
it's
not?
you know what's funny is it's the ultimate useless coin because it is a useless coin based on a useless coin. You know?
I mean, we like to get very meta into this space. I think people like trolling. I think people like jokes. I think people like, it's the internet culture, right? So it's like, yeah, it's a meme of a meme listed on an exchange that was not supposed to be memeable, or that was
Yeah.
kind of building its. I think I put Coinbase in like the same branch as, like, I don't know, Kraken, or I don't know, other exchanges that are just a bit more conservative, more institutional.
Yeah.
Do they want to go after the Binance crowd? Maybe. I mean, Binance got so much slack, so maybe the sales department at Coinbase is like, okay, how can we like, how can we get all of these users to our ship? Yeah, okay, we need to start adding more funky stuff so that they would like us, and we might attract more of these types of traders. I don't know.
Yeah, I think that Binance is what Coinbase wishes they could be and will be someday. But, you know, the funny thing about, like, so Dogecoin was like a real crypto. It still is, by the way, like a real proof of work cryptocurrency that just had like a bunch of emission, like a ton of coins get kicked out. and it was like fast and cheap, and like it was created as a joke, but like a fun thing to like tip people on the internet. So like because people were starting to be like, oh, Bitcoin's valuable, I don't want to be tipping little bits here and there all the time. And then they're like, well, Doge, it just there's more all the time. You can dig for Doge in your little computer and spit more out. It's just like a fun whatever. And so then it's time came and went, and then people stopped trying to develop on it, and it just kind of was like on its way out. And then Elon Musk starts doing his nonsense, which I think he knows it was nonsense, so I'm not going to come on and do hard. And all of a sudden, whoa, top 10 crypto, oh my gosh, it's getting listed, and all these like companies like BitPay adds it as a payment option when no one's going to be paying with this stuff. But it's funny because it goes back to the only way I can make sense of that nonsense is people want to make money. And if this stuff goes up, because Elon talked about it, people who held Doge made a lot of money. And if there's demand, all these companies are going to integrate it because, it makes a lot of money. And so I kind of roll my eyes at a little bit of this kind of nonsense. But in reality, first off, I'm happy people make money on their own stuff. I'm not interested in that. I'm doing what I'm interested in, and it's going very well, thank you, so I don't care. On the other hand, if those of us see those market valuations and do not like that the crap is so well valued and the good stuff is not, think about it. The good stuff needs to find a way to actually provide value to people instead of have all this potential value. Say it works so well, it's like this, you're gonna be free, or like, oh, privacy is number, like, okay, you tell all these, but like make it work for someone, like make people pay you for it, then then it'll be worthwhile. Like, I mean, how many times I don't know, it depends on, to take any industry, right? There's always going to be those like industries where people say that like, oh, I don't make any money because I'm like about more than that kind of thing. And it's just like, for example, like a lot of creative people and artists and stuff.
I grew up from those days, but I had a similar discourse way back when.
Yes, and
Life changed.
but that's what I'm saying, and it's the same thing with like the honest to goodness useful cryptos that just aren't valued. Like it's the exact same thing. It's like, well, you'd be raking in money if it was true. It's not that it's not true. It's just you're like you have a business, something's not working yet. It's either you're early to the game and you have to be patient, or you are missing something to make it really work. And so, like, for example, I had that like discussion for a long time with stuff like Dash. Like, why isn't everyone throwing money into Dash if it's so useful? Like, but it's like, well, the honest truth is not enough people are actually using it for its intended purpose. And like, well, why not? It's so great in this stuff. And then you're like, okay, well, why would a merchant take it if no one has it? The chicken and the egg adoption problem. And then it's like, well, why would anyone get some? And it's like, well, it's like Bitcoin, but it's more secure and it's more scarce. And like, okay, yeah, but they're kind of marketing a lot better on that kind of end. There's already one of those, like, whatever. And eventually, that's where we come to like the whole Dash Direct thing, where if you get crypto, if you get Dash, you can spend it a lot of places in the US and hopefully a lot of places in the whole world soon and save significantly on it. Now it's like, okay, that's worth doing. Now you actually provided the utility you were promising before, right? Just sort of like, why does Purse.io work? It doesn't work because like someone's subsidizing it. They found a business application based on the technology, and there's, probably some crazy laundering stuff going on there too, but I won't talk about that, But that's the point, is like all these like, useful things, find a way to make money if it's that useful, and then you won't have to complain because you're going to be ahead of Shiba Inu on the market cap rankings,
Absolutely. I mean, it's difficult what we're talking about right now, and it's like we want to see more valid tokens and cryptocurrencies and communities being validated by the market, and we wish that all the pump and dump scammy meme coins would be less prevalent. And but I think it goes back to the beginning of our conversation about having a more educated, a more utility based market, and we're just doing our part and hoping that eventually this market, which is right today because it represents this market at large, we just hope that in the long run, in the long term, that fundamentals triumph and that actual value of, and these are not small things, but the actual value of decentralization, of censorship resistance, more than just getting cashbacks. But yeah, the OG narrative, and I think we've already like joked about being crypto boomers on another show, but
Yeah.
yes, to actually better, it's better than fiat, and it's not just, it's also more than money. It can also be programmable money, and it's a very exciting world, and DeFi is here, and it's a real market, and KYC, AML, and Swift, and international bank settlement, you know, uh, deals are something not of the past, but are definitely some things that are being challenged today. And you had like sort of a little political apartheid before discussing what's
Mm-hmm.
happening, and sadly, or for the best, I don't know, I feel like we were kind of doomsday people, like even more 2 years
Mm-hmm.
ago when we talked about crypto and said, oh, but
Yeah.
be careful the bank, oh, be careful the government, and people are like, oh my god, what is that? That felt so out of reach, that just felt just weird. But the flip side of all of this, what's been happening in the world these last 2 years, is that also more people, like you mentioned, are questioning the system, are leaving their jobs apparently because of
Mm-hmm.
the new policies that are being passed. People are questioning more and more. They have more time at home. Maybe they're valuing their lives better, questioning what they're doing, and
Mm-hmm.
they're questioning their investments. Suddenly they're sitting down and thinking, wait, why am I getting negative interest now? Maybe six
Mm-hmm.
months ago or a year from now, they wouldn't have sat down and to just take a moment to think about these things. But we should, there's a part where this whole health issue is, I think, helping people to also question what's happening. It's scary, and the only thing that brings me some kind of hope are cryptocurrencies. Like, there's not much
Mm-hmm.
right now to rejoice about, but the world of cryptocurrencies, the world of self custody, the world of censorship resistance is out there, and needs tools today, and we have the tools today. It's not like we're like in
Mm-hmm.
2008 and we're like, oh my god, yeah, let's occupy, and then we're like, oh, scratch. It's like kind
Yeah.
of,
What do we do?
that, and then what? Like, today we have tools, we have
Mm-hmm.
wallets, we have things that are easy for customers, like me, and I'm putting him in the noob category. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't have known how to run a wallet or do a transaction in 2010, 11, 12. Like, when I was talking with Paul Pui from Edge Wallet, he was discussing him onboarding people to the Armory wallet, which I've never heard of or used. And he said how
It's old
that was
school.
a nightmare. And him
Mm-hmm.
describing that wallet and doing a meetup actually, and bringing people to this wallet is what triggered him later to create the Edge wallet. So we're moving forward. If more guys like Paul are out there creating products that are easy to use, convenient, bring privacy, bring convenience without you having to jump through 300 hoops. And I'm not saying it's always like that. Sometimes it's just about
Mm-hmm.
changing your
Sometimes it's just
browser,
200
like you
hoops.
mentioned. Yeah. But
Mm-hmm.
and another person to follow, and we've already mentioned her as well, is Naomi Brockwell. Also, great series on how to basically live a more
Mm-hmm.
conscious life in this days
Yeah.
and age where privacy and civil liberties and just freedom as a whole is being challenged. And cryptocurrencies are one way, just one way to live a bit freer.
Yeah, and it's kind of the tip of the iceberg in the entire situation is all that. But the thing is, we as a human species are always trying to move forward, and I think there's every species out there moves forward and adapts biologically, but they don't really have like civilization, as it were, as far as species I know of. It's humans that have like civilization, like the collective, you know, all the stuff that's not just our meat, right? And that keeps on moving forward over time. And if you think about like how far people went in the past, and then when people came up with the concept of we didn't need rulers, we should govern ourselves, and then he came up with freedom and democracy and all these kind of these ideas, rough ideas, a lot of them not well implemented. But then we had a huge turning over of humanity. Growth went exponential, like human civil, like the the amount of like poverty and starvation that's been eradicated from the world that used to be everyone. Now it's like not everyone, which is great. And it is bit by bit we're getting better and better. And then like the internet lets anyone communicate with anyone anytime, anywhere. It's fantastic. And of course, there's censorship and bad things on the internet, but it's like way better than before the internet. And then it's like now we're reinventing money that's not like, well, your government or central bank issues it. It's just like, I don't know, some dude made one, everyone uses it. Like, what? We're then now DeFi is taken over like the exchanges and financial institutions, not just the base currency.
Beautiful. I
It's
mean,
taken that part over.
yay us.
Yeah, and just
Yay this space.
and then decentral. Like for example, everyone I know basically is on encrypted messengers right now. Like there's the occasional person who isn't, but even like all the old people I know are on it and stuff too. It's just like it's so beautiful. Everyone's using Signal or something like that, and that didn't exist not too long ago. And so all this like little hacker man nonsense that like people like me, but honestly people a lot nerdier than me were doing back in the day. Now that's like mainstream. I'm not sure if it's mainstream, but it's kind of mainstream. Like it's getting out there, and like I know people. I'm like the last person to be still using Android OS, right? The old Android kind of whatever they call it, and that's like the last thing I haven't changed, and I'm gonna change that, and then that I'll be completely de-Googlified. I got to get rid of my Gmail account too. It's just too much is like tied up in. I have other accounts, right, like Proton Mail, right, but just the Gmail one is too. It's just there's too many people that still email back and forth on that, and like a bit clawing it all back. But pretty soon, it's just going to be a regular person is going to be completely unplugged from the system, and it's like wow, like and so I want to. That's part of what I'm doing. I'm going first. It's just like it's like just think of any kind of situation where like for example you go explore like a new place, or like let's just say you go like going to go vacation in a new spot, but then your friend or whatever he was there 2 weeks ago. He's like, oh yeah, I was there, yeah, this place sucks, that place better. Like you just tell you what you don't watch out for your purse because the monkeys will steal it or whatever it is, like just to go before. So I'm trying to be that person to start doing what I hope people do. And sometimes I might be like, yeah, don't worry about it. Like, don't even bother. It's too difficult to become decentralized today. But that's not what I'm finding out. I think it's very possible.
Do you want to close the show on this moment? I think this is like that's what people
Yeah.
should just remember.
Well,
is
that's
that
the
it's
second.
all possible, and that it's not, that it's in arm's reach, and that if we have pioneers like you, just kind of teaching people. And yes, it's serious. I know you were just joking about it and being like,
Yeah.
I was doing this thing before, but no, it's really serious. And so you have to like put out guides and step by step and like those sort
Yes.
of how-to stuff, and just like this is my guide to live unbanked, done. And then I know you've already done videos talking about the experience and talking about what it's like and how and everything, and you've talked to me about it as well. But we need that, and we need that now.
Well, that's the
We've been
number
doing it for
two.
a couple of years.
That's the number two takeaway from this thing. Number one takeaway is check out the Humans of Crypto podcast on Crypto Canal and give it all like, share, subscribe, all that kind of stuff. But also check it out on Odysee, even though it doesn't have like the good picture on it and on Odysee and stuff, even though I leave super chats and no one ever answers them. But it's all good. So check it out on all those platforms. That's what I would really say is do Crypto Canal and then use crypto. The easiest way to use crypto is to just sign up for Odysee, to be honest, because you just start watching YouTube video type things and you get some like crypto money and stuff. And Odysee already has over 33 million monthly visitors, so that's a lot of people.
I feel like I need to go check out their token allocation or something.
Yeah, it's not that great, but like
okay.
It's like a 50 it's like a 50 like half of a pre-mine or something, but then they just use that. Yeah, I don't know what it's something big like that, but it is a proof of work mined coin, so even though like a big half of it is just being used by like the development company, you can still mine it and stuff, but it is cool.
Well, that's something we should ask Jeremy Kaufman on why such a weird token allocation from the get-go.
Yeah, it's because I think it was in the pre-ICO era and the pre-DAO era, really. I mean, Dash had kind of done it, but no one else had by that point. And it's just like there wasn't like an elegant way of getting startup capital to just build a cool decentralized blockchain project. So they're like, well, you know what? We're just gonna start with half the tokens, and then everyone mines the rest, and then we'll just. Hey, it's worked out for them so far, except for the SEC doesn't like them very much. But
Interesting.
um,
Any
yeah,
other places? Any other tools we should give to people before? Like, what's another place that you like to use?
to get crypto, if you want to take a plunge, go to Bitwage and get your salary converted. You know, I'm trying, but that's what I'm saying. I haven't done my research for the earn crypto part. Go to cointr.ee, Cointree. People can give you money.
Ooh, should I get my Cointree? I'm going to get my Cointree link now.
Yeah, cointr.ee/blackblanc, right?
Yeah.
Let me put it in the live chat.
There's also like read.cash. That's for BCH more, which is like sort of like a medium thing. And if you write like quality articles, you might, get some support and you can get tips that way.
Yeah. Those are always good. There's a million little ways, but like I'll make some videos detailing the whole thing eventually. Cool. But yeah, so I dropped the Cointree in the live chat. Everyone go and check out her stuff, and let's just wrap this thing up. Who's on next week? I think I might have Naomi on next week. I don't know. But she's always fun. Yeah, so that'll be good.
I'll tune in for that one. That's gonna be really nice.
Tune in for that one, and she's going to hopefully monopolize the conversation because she's smart and also speaks very quickly because of all her shouting down maximalists on CoinDesk or whatever she does.
Does she have to? Yeah, does she have to face up a lot of that?
Yeah, she's like the only smart one on CoinDesk, but whatever. So anyway,
well, go her.
Go her. So
tune in for that show.
All right.
Thank you for having me, Joel. Always
no problem.
A pleasure to talk with you.
Humans of Crypto. Check it out, and I will see you guys next week.